Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Shri Radhamadava ki. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam namaskrityam naram chaiva narottamam devim saraswatim vyasam chato chayamudhirayet nastapaisho bhadrishu nityam bhagavata sevaya bhagavati uttama shloke bhaktir bhavati naishtiki. So, we are reading. Everybody speaks English as you. Sorry, my voice is a little gone. I hope you can understand me. Versteht jemand kein Englisch? Okay. Entschuldigung. But all of you don't speak German, do you? So, we speak in English. We are reading from the Srimad Bhagavatam, the 4th canto. Danke, Sanjay. Continuing in chapter number 'Okay. Chaitanya is also taking part today. Chapter number 17, verse 14. Is that right? Pravepamanam dharani. Pravepamanadharani. Nisham yodhayudam chatam. Nisham yodhayudam chatam. Gausatya padravat pita. Gausatya padravat pita. Mrigiva mrigayudruta. Mrigiva mrigayudruta. Pravepamanadharani. Nisham yodhayud Dam chatam Gau satya paravadravat vita Mrigiva mrigayudruta Pravepamana dharani Soll ich umholen? Mataji? So, now we're reading the Sanskrit and then the English translation for every word. Pravipamana, trembling. Dharani, the earth. Nishamya, seeing. Udhayudham, taking his bow and arrow. Cha, also. Tam, the king. Go, a cow. Sati, becoming. Apadravat, began to flee. Bhita, very much afraid. Mrigi iva, like a deer. Mrigayu, by a hunter. Druta, being followed. Translation purport by His Divine Grace Abhaichar Narinda Bhaktivinoda Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. When the earth saw that King Prithu was taking his bow and arrow to kill her, she became very much afraid and began to tremble. She began to flee exactly like a deer, which runs very swiftly when followed by a hunter. Being afraid of King Prithu, she took the shape of a cow and began to run. Purport by His Divine Grace Abhaichar Narinda Bhaktivinoda Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki. Just as a mother produces various children, both male and female, the womb of Mother Earth produces all kinds of living entities in various shapes. Thus, it is possible for Mother Earth to take on innumerable shapes. At this time, in order to avoid the wrath of King Prithu, she took the shape of a cow. Since a cow is never to be killed, Mother Earth thought it wise to take the shape of a cow in order to avoid King Prithu's arrows. King Prithu, however, could understand this fact, and therefore he did not stop chasing the cow-shaped earth. Hare Krishna. Homa Yajna timirandasya gananjana shalakaya chakshurum litam yena tasmai shri gurave namaha. Shri Chaitanya manobhistam stapitam yena bhutale svayam rupa gadamayam dadati swaparantikam. He Krishna karuna sindhu dina bandhu jagatpate gopesha gopika kanta radha kanta mustate tapta kanchana gaurange radhe vrindavaneshwari vrishabhanu sutadevi pranamami hari priye vancha kalpatarubhishya kripa sindhu bevascha patitanam bhavanivyo vaishnavi namo namaha. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Pashta Bhutale Shrimate Kanabhakarana Samati Namne. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Pashta Bhutale Gurudas Chaitwaita Samani Namne. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Pashta Bhutale Shrimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Namne. Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pacharini Nevishesha Sunjapari Paskitari Deshatarini. Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasadi Gaura Bhaktarinda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So it's very funny that Mother Earth, she's trying to hide, and she's trying to be very sneaky. she's trying to take the shape of a cow in order to not be chased by the King Prithu. Why did King Prithu want to chase or chastise Mother Earth? It was because she was not producing enough grains. So just imagine the power of such a king that can command the earth for grains to grow. And such a king is not only here, King Prithu is not a normal human being, but he's said to be empowered in Shakti Avesha Avatar, to be empowered being, human being by the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And thus he could recognize that this is not a normal cow, because everybody else will think, okay, this is a cow I don't chase, but he knew this is a very special cow. So it said the cow was running, fleeing from one planet to the next. This will be explained in the next verses. Let me see, there's some pictures sometimes. It's really cool how Mother Earth runs away through the planets. And let me see, where is it? No picture here. And yeah, King Prithu is knowing. So sometimes we face in our lives people who are hiding themselves, who are trying to pose as something they're not. And sometimes those persons we are ourselves, trying to do something that we are not. And then a righteous person can see it right through it. Like if you approach a spiritual, powerful person who is quite advanced in spiritual life, you can feel in his presence. He can see right through you. He can see. It's not a mystical thing. It's just like if I have my son here, Chaitanya, and I can see sometimes through his behavior. If he's doing naughty things to the little brother, giving only the bad toys and taking the good toys for himself, then I can see through that. So in a similar way, a wise, a smart person who is spiritually deep can see through a character of the person. Why? Because he has deep knowledge of himself. Because he has done introspection. If you have done introspection, you analyze yourself, you find the same patterns in other people. You can understand them. So therefore, also in Krishna consciousness, this introspection, it's not only about going outside. The Harinam Sankirtan is not only a physical activity, it is a mental activity. It is not only a mental activity, it is an activity of the soul. It's the activity of the soul to chant the holy names of the Lord. It is the activity of the soul to sing and chant for the Supreme Personality of Godhead. It's that what makes it happy. And thus we need to be aware of who we are and what we want. Sometimes we are engaged in so many worldly activities that we forget that. Even in devotional service, sometimes we forget that. And thus we need to reflect, why am I doing these kinds of patterns? Why am I following these patterns? So understand where we are at. And then we can chase down this false, pretentious qualities that we have. And be more honest, be more pure, be more humble. And for that, we need to be humble, as I said. If you're humble, then you understand, okay, I'm not so great. I'm not so amazing. Now everybody wants to be Superman or some Marvel superhero, and it is very just that you need to be something, need to have a status in life, money, wealth, or whatever, something. Many followers, Nadhanam, Najanam, Nasundarim, all these things. A beautiful wife, lots of wealth, many followers on YouTube or wherever, So everybody wants to have something, be recognized. And if you see behind that, what we really want, what our intrinsic desires, then we can tackle them. We can tackle them and direct them towards the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And this ignorance, this common ignorance, is very, very strong. And there is a very interesting story I need to tell you. The story of a doctor called Semmelweis. It's a very tragic story. Why? Because he was not accepted within his lifetime. And even because of that, because nobody could understand what he had to tell to the people, he was brought to to very difficult circumstances. So Semmelweis was a doctor. He lived in 18th century, 1848, and he was Hungarian, but he moved to Vienna to work as a doctor. So what he recognized was that in the hospital, the ladies, I wrote it down, it was 18% of all ladies who gave birth in the hospital died. In numbers, it's like 1 of 5, you know. Every 5th or 6th lady basically died because of some interesting circumstances. Nobody knew why. It was terrible. Ladies were dying in the thousands. And opposite to that, if you had midwives, if the ladies would give birth with midwives, on the death rate was only 2%, like 10 times less. Like, 10 times less. So, and nobody wanted to go to hospitals. And eine Hebamme. Yeah, Hebamme, yeah. So, so he was very perplexed. What is that? What is happening here? And then it happened that during a surgery, an autopsy of a dead body, they were taking the body apart, and it happened that one doctor was pricked, was stung with one of the tools from the dead body, was stung, and then afterwards he got the same fever that all these ladies got, and died in the same way. And then he understood, because he tried, like for many years, he tried to research this reason, that reason, how could it be, what is behind that? And then he understood, okay, if he died of the same symptoms that all these ladies are dying from, this child fever, there must be some correlation to the dead bodies. And now it's very shocking for us nowadays to hear, but what happened back then was that doctors did not wash their hands after taking apart the dead bodies and then going to the midwife, going to the pregnant ladies and delivering the children. So this terrible bacteria, they were transferred to the ladies, and then they got a fever and they died. And now comes the tragical part. So he found it out and thought, like, well, that's so amazing. No, I need to tell it to the world. So he introduced in his section that everybody needs to wash their hands after doing autopsy. Common thing for us, you know. And in Vedic culture, we have it a long, long time ago. You tell them that you need to wash your hands with clay like 10 times, 16, like 7 times after touching something muchi. You know, very common sense nowadays. And it's also in Western culture, cleanliness was very backwards. Even King Louis XVI is said of France, the Sun King who had Versailles, this huge palace. He never bathed his whole life. He never took shower. Yucky. 100% powder. So that is to speak of our civilized Western culture. Huh? And in India, and then it happened actually that many travelers came to India and they were astonished that the Indians are so healthy. And they studied it and they understood, yeah, they're showering daily. They're showering more often. And thus they adopted that and to the West that, okay, to shower regularly, wash their hands, have some cleanliness, that is very good. And then the West improved little by little their health. So this doctor in 1848, so that's only, okay, roughly 200 years ago, but still quite recent. And so he found it out. And then he introduced it within his department of his clinic. And the death rates dropped. So there was proof, no? It was clear, death rates proved. And then he told his colleagues. And they didn't accept it. Because there was no common reason. They didn't have the theory of bacteria, that bacteria can transfer from one body to the other. And it can be infectious and bad. So because they didn't have this theory and he couldn't prove why exactly you need to wash the hands, they didn't just accept what he said. And in fact, he tried to approach it several times and they kicked him out of the hospital. They kicked him out of the hospital. And he was so frustrated. You imagine, you know why thousands of ladies are dying. You're telling them into their face and they don't want to accept it. Must be so frustrating. And then he waited for 13 years. So I thought, okay, no, maybe things will settle and they will understand maybe. Still nothing improved. Ladies will continue to die by the thousands just because they didn't want to listen. They were too proud. at that time still also doctors were accepted as an honorable person, gentleman in society. So they would not accept something like that, and that we're doing something wrong for so long time. It's a true story, you know. And they were all dying. And then he brought out a paper after the 13th year, and like, it's too much, like he wanted to publish it. And then he published the paper and to kind of bring it to the public eye. And it was, people understood, but they understood that they cannot understand. So they basically banned him even more. They ostracized him into an exile. And then he became so frustrated that they said, yeah, he's a little crazy, you know. Imagine having this on your conscience for 13 years. Thousands of ladies are dying just for no good reason. They could be easily saved. Mataji? Ich weiß nicht. Vorhang ist, ich finde es schön, wenn ein bisschen Sonne ist. Ja. Aber ich denke, schön, wenn Sonne reinscheint. Ich hätte gern mehr Sonne. Chai, Haribo. Danke. Hare Krishna. And so after this 13 years, he was so frustrated that they put him into a crazy home, crazy asylum, and then he died there. You know, terrible. So it's a very interesting story. And the thing is, it's called the Semmelweis effect. And a few years later, the theory in America came out, okay, of the bacteria, and that bacteria can be transferred to another person, and it can become sick. And then all the doctors thought, yeah, we should follow that. It was just like 10 years later or 5, you know, it's funny. And then everybody thought, yes, it's true. He was all the time right, and we never listened. And of course, everybody who was there, you just imagine the doctors, how guilty you must have felt, you know, not listening to him. And then you understand, oops, quite some ladies died because of us, some human beings we try to help. So, but the interesting fact is ignorance and not being ready to listen can have such a dramatic effect. And we cannot imagine how, to what length it comes. Like, it is said, Yudhishthira was asked by the Yaksha, by Dharma, disguised as a Yaksha, what is the most astonishing thing in this world? It is that everybody thinks they're living eternally and they're not taking care. They're living like there's no tomorrow. You only, like YOLO, you only live once. And it is something so common. So if you understand it, if you understand the Bhagavad Gita, it's so common so easy, normal understanding to go to spiritual knowledge and to use this human form of life for upliftment, not for sense enjoyment like cats and dogs. They have the same thing, even better. You know, rabbits can have more enjoyment, you know, and others can have different kinds of enjoyment which we as humans cannot have. You know, why should we live like low-class animals? We have so much more to search for. We have this human form, we have knowledge, we have wisdom, we can go deep, we can look, do introspection. We can do all of this, and we're still avoiding it. Now we're still thinking, oh yeah, let's do it the old way. Everybody's doing like that. And so this can be a shortcoming that we have. And also, we learn that we should be humble to understand. No, it's said that a guru can be anybody. Anybody can teach us something on our spiritual path. And we can learn from a bird, from a dumb person, for anybody. So a good instruction should be taken for anybody. I think it's from Chanakya Pandit. You should take a good wife from a bad family, and a good advice even from a bad person. And there's 2, 3 other things, but somebody remembers that? Okay. So good advice should be taken. This is very important, that we need to be humble. And only we can take good advice, like these doctors, they were too proud. If they would have little common sense, like, okay, wash their hands, that's not a problem. If it reduces the death rates, he could prove it, you know. In my time, it went down, and before it was more, and afterwards was less. He could prove it, but because they were proud. So also nowadays, we are proud. We are proud of our knowledge. So and we think also we're spiritually advanced. And sometimes on book distribution or anywhere, we don't want to accept easily any instructions from others or any advice. So we should take this advice to heart, what we're getting, because there might be more behind it than we are thinking. So if we are subtle to this, and not only that, also things in our life will happen. Krishna will show things and put the things in our life which are very clear. And we need to learn to read the signs so that we can advance. Else we'll be just stuck. We'll be stuck and running in the circle. Even if we are already on a spiritual path, we can be stuck and run in circles. So we need to be open. We need to be humble to understand this knowledge, so we can attain pure love of Godhead. That is the prerequisite. And if we're stuck in our own circle, we won't be able to go further. Then this is what makes a Vaishnava glorious. And ignorance is not a justification. Ignorance, we think, okay, they didn't know, but it's not. At this point, it was not a justification. So we can say, these people, they don't know better way. They kind of know. Everybody knows. We know that there is a better way of life to live a spiritual life, deep within, and we should follow this urge to surrender to Krishna, because else, we're not honoring ourselves. Sometimes we have this, that we don't value ourselves enough to treat ourselves nice. And I think, I don't know, with men especially, you think, no problem, I can endure, and you just endure, but it's you're not taking care of yourself. So self-care also means that you chant nice rounds, that you are humble, that it is for your own good to take good advice. Sometimes we are so in an ignorant level that we don't take care of ourselves. We don't want to accept help. We don't want to understand that it is from our own good self. So, and thus, if we are good Vaishnavas, we can approach the Bhagavatam, and then we can read. If we read, it becomes magic, it becomes powerful. And then we can understand things. And also, when we go in the world, we can see cows which are disguised and can see for their true form. Hare Krishna. So thus, we can chant Hare Krishna in a pure, humble state of mind, so we can see through this disguise of this material world. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. And the questions or comments, or critics. Brian was first. And then Vidasaran and Kripa Sindhu.
Hare Krishna. I wanted to ask, when we are open to hearing advices from different people, but sometimes also an advice which may have also some not so good instructions behind, but when we are not so learned, or let's say so much aware, then we may take this advice and then get led to not so good direction. Yeah. So what would you say on this?
If you have any doubt, always you can counter-check with anybody who you think is more wise, and it's something very easy. And but also our pride again sometimes is in the way. First to accept it, and then second to counter-check with somebody. Did I understand it right? Is it like this? Is it like that? But you can take always the good part, because you know in your heart what is the right part. And the good part you easily take, and the bad part you usually easier take than the good part, because the bad part is easier. You understand? Yep. So yeah. Krishna within your heart knows and tells you. You just need to listen. We need to listen. Because Krishna is within our heart, we have this intrinsic understanding what is right and what is wrong. And if we listen more to this voice, we get this fine-tuning in our spiritual life, when we understand the right balance. Vidasara Prabhu?
Yes,
One moment.
Thank you for the nice lecture and topic, Mohan Prabhu.
Hare Krishna.
I just wanted to comment that there is a beautiful description of several gurus in the 11th canto, 7th chapter. Lord Krishna instructs Uddhava, verse 33 to 35, where there are, I think, 24 nice gurus from the nature are mentioned.
Yeah, you can tell them.
Yeah?
Now we're curious.
O king, I have taken shelter of 24 gurus, who are the following: the earth, the air, the sky, water, fire, moon, sun, pigeon and python, the sea, the moth, the honeybee, the elephant and honey thief, the deer, the fish, the prostitute, Pingala, the Kurara bird, and the child, and the young girl, arrow maker, serpent, spider, and wasp. My dear king, by studying their activities, I have learned the science of the self. And then they get more described in the later verses.
Yeah, there's a nice allegories which are described how to learn from. The arrow maker was that he was all the time focused on making the arrow straight and didn't see anything else than the arrow. And then there's a pigeon and many others. As you said, they're being described later about what they're teaching. That's very cool. And not only that, it's only some examples from where we can learn. And and a wise person can see so many instructions everywhere. Thank you. Kriva Sindhu Prabhu.
Haribol, thank you. One question I have in this verse of the Bhagavatam, it sounds like that, and also it is stated by Prabhupada that the cow is producing so many forms of life, so therefore also she can take any form of life, but kind of accidentally or somehow or other. Now in this case she took the form of a cow in order to be safe from Prithu Maharaj. But my question is, then also we see in Krishna's pastime when the Mother Earth was suffering, she also took the form of a cow and went to the demigods and asked for help. So isn't it that this is kind of a main form of the cow? We call her Bhumi?
It's often referred to as a cow, Mother Bhumi, but as the demigods are shapeshifters, higher beings, they don't have a physical body like we do have. It's a more subtle body, which is not limited to physical constraints of space as we know. It's more flexible. It's like water, And if form is like water or even thinner ether, they can change forms. So Mother Earth, also can take a very beautiful form of a beautiful lady, or other forms. Also said that demigods like Indra, when Bali Maharaj came to take over the heavenly kingdom, what did they do? Who knows? They disguised themselves as animals and fled away in the bushes. Indra, King Indra. So funny always to read, like, what? They transformed themselves into animals. They were so scared.
So would it be correct if we explain that Mother Earth is generally to be understood in a bodily form, in form of a cow, or would it be a little bit, we don't know?
It's usually that's what we know. But it's also described that she's also in different forms. I cannot cite any verse that she's in other forms, but that's what I understand, that they have a main form, they can disguise themselves, like especially Mother Earth. But they have also different, and this was also, it said here, because it was not only because generally she's Mother Bhumi, but also as a cow, but also on top of that, you should not chase and kill a cow, so it had two, and double meaning, therefore this was emphasized here.
In that regard, a small comment, if you allow. She wanted to trick Prithu Maharaj.
Yeah.
And we have something similar with Krishna. When there was Vatsasura, he thought the same thing. I come as a calf, and Krishna likes cows. He's a coward boy, so when I come as a calf, he will not do anything against me. So, but you cannot trick Krishna. Krishna just killed Vatsasura as a calf, and it is explained or compared with the devotee's mentality of being childish.
Childish?
Yeah, kindish. And this is like an anartha, and Krishna doesn't take care of it, You cannot be childish with Krishna.
I need to work on that too.
We all have to, Vatsasura.
Yeah. Yeah, interesting. Childish can also be an impediment towards spiritual development, if you don't take spiritual life too serious. Yeah, it's a good one. And sometimes we, no problem. Little this, little that. Any questions? Wie heißt du? Daniel. Hast du Fragen, oder ist eines deiner ersten Male hier am Vortrag?
Fragen habe ich aber gerade keine.
Okay, cool. Na, danke. Do, Robin? No? Okay, any other questions or comments?
Only a little about this childish, because sometimes it's referred we should see the world again as a child. I hear that in many movements, but I'm not sure if I hear that in Christian movement as well. But that you it's somehow kind, see the world again as a child.
Yeah, Prabhupada says one should be innocent like a child, and it says it has something angelic. Like here, Chaitanya sitting all the time listening, all respects being so patient. So yeah, it has this innocence, this purity that children have. But also one must be aware that this purity comes out of ignorance, because they don't know or haven't seen the world. So somebody can truly renounce if they have understood it and or had the opportunity to renounce it. It's like a beggar. You know, if a beggar renounces $1 million he never had, what is this renunciation? I'm renouncing $1 million. I'm on purpose here. No. So, but if a millionaire renounces $1 million because he had them and decides to be a devotee of Krishna or a mendicant, a very simple, then that is something glorious, you know. So in a similar way, we go through life and we experience things, and we, if we renounce in later, it's a very conscious renunciation. So therefore, as devotees, if we go through life and we are consciously renounced, we are ready to step back and say, okay, I would have the opportunity, but I don't. That is renunciation. But if you never had the opportunity, I said, no, I never had, I always renounced. Then you're cheating yourself. So it's important to be conscious, and sometimes this maturity that we get through life is good, so that we can truly renounce. We can truly renounce all of this anarthas or things that come up, and which are nice. You know, it is interesting. All of us have a little impurities in our heart, and nobody's pure. And in due course of time, you understand them. And you can renounce them, you can let them go. And this is so beautiful. It's usually like when you have something, an attachment, and you want to enjoy it, you want to have it, it makes you so stiff, it makes you uncomfortable even, you know. You wanted to have it so hard. But once you let it go, it's such a relief, you know, such a relief. That's even sometimes better than getting the thing that you wanted in the first place. So, and usually anyway, if you pursue what you wanted to have, but and then you get it, it's usually not how you wanted it or how you imagined it. So better to let go of it. If it's unnecessary. It's that the main rule. There's so many rules and regulations. This kind of Akila, you're distracting me. There's so many regulations and things to do, things we should avoid. But the main thing is that we should take up whatever helps us in spiritual life, and whatever is hindering ourselves in spiritual life, we should reject. That is the main thing. And if we understand it deeply, it's natural to live a spiritual life and a good, healthy spiritual life. So, but it takes some time, you know, until we can step up to that. So, as a Grihastha, I must say, it is nice to have children to go through this phase of life of Grihastha ashram. And yeah, I think I can imagine one time renouncing it. But I'm attached to it. I'm attached to my children, to my wife. It's very beautiful. And but it is a part of renunciation that going through it. And some brahmacharis, they always stay brahmacharis, don't need to go through it. It's much easier. But all steps that you take in life will be good for your own upliftment. Whatever, even if it's bad and you need to fight through it, in the end you'll see it actually was something good for you. So you can be very grateful for whatever is happening to us, because Krishna is just putting us in the right situation, in the right time of our life, so that we can go on and grow. We can grow spiritually. So it's not by chance all of you are here. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Gour Bhaktavinda ki.